And welcome to A New Way. My name is Victoria, and I'm going to just do the intro. And tonight is about waking up. So it's stories of journeys to faith. And I'm going to be telling you the first story. And then, if all technology works out well, our friend Alton is going to be remotely coming in because he couldn't be here tonight for various reasons. So I just wanted to talk to you about kind of what's coming up at A New Way. We have a very exciting month coming up, and I have just here so I remember. Again, tonight is Connect Night. Next week is Support Night, and that's going to be a little bit different. We're not doing a presentation and discussion. We are physically going to be filling community support bags to then be able to disperse throughout the community to people who need it. So please, it's kid-friendly, everybody, and we're just going to be coming together as a community to go get those together. And if anybody has any resources or anything they want to donate to that cause, please contact one of the team members before you go or message us through the website. The week after that, February 9th, is our Explore Week, and this is also a very unique way to go. We are looking at the concept of original sin versus original goodness, but we are doing it in the form of a mock trial. So it is slightly scripted out. 4 of us are going to be performing it, but at the end, you all here will be the jury, and you have to decide what side wins. So it's going to be really cool. We have a gavel and judges' robes and the whole thing. So then our Reform Night on February 16th is Radical Action, Advancing Racial Equity. And then the following week is a big event. We are hosting our second Outspoken event here. That's February 23rd. It's our second time, and we plan to do this twice a year to host them here. And 2 of our own are doing stories, myself and Kat. We are doing stories as part of that event, so please come on, and then we'll get from there. Yes, what?
Yes. Sundays, they have a Center Street table here at Community UMC. It's free. It's at 5 o'clock every Sunday. Come in, get a hot meal, dessert. There's coffee, tea, lemonade. And also this Sunday, they are doing a food drive for Loaves and Fishes.
Okay, so yeah, this Sunday food drive for Loaves and Fishes here at CUMC, and then the Center Street table is what it's called, 5 p.m. on Sundays, and it's free. Okay, I just wanted to copy it for the people. Yeah, awesome. Okay, and also just a reminder that we love doing what we do here at A New Way, but it's hard to do it without your support and your help. So if you do feel compelled to give a donation, we do have envelopes in the back, or you can do it on the website. We really appreciate every money that comes in so we can continue to do what we're doing. So I really appreciate it. I'm trying. Okay. All right, so we'll begin. So again, these are stories of journeys to faith, and every story is a different story, a different path, and very few of them are straight. So a straight line, not otherwise, but you know. So my particular story would not have come to pass if I hadn't completely destroyed my own life. So take that for what it is. So back to the beginning. So I was baptized Catholic. Originally was in Catholic church, and we went, but no one ever talked about why we went. It was just because we were supposed to. And then when I was in 3rd grade, around 9 years old, my parents simply just stopped going to church. I heard tell it was because they had a disagreement with the deacon. I think my mom wanted us to do CCD, that Saturday school at home, and she wanted to do it at home, and he was like, no, you can't do it at home. That's not the way it's done. And so there was a kerfluffle, and they pulled us out. And me at 9 years old took that to mean, oh, church doesn't matter. Cool. But what I remember from church growing up was the incense stunk so bad that it was hard to go with. There was the elevator and the escalator, because you're always kneeling down or going from kneeling to sitting. So it was like elevator or escalator. Like, what are we doing? It was calisthenics. Nobody explained anything. I never knew what to do about it. So church ended up not meaning anything to me. Fast forward a little bit to junior high, when I was starting to express myself, and I'm a writer, so I've always been a little darker. So, but I would be like writing about things, and I had one kid labeled me as Satan Claus, and he went to church. And I had another friend who told her mother that I needed counseling because I was going to hell. And both of these people were Christians. So hence my adolescent self believed Christians were idiotic and hateful. Big shock. So that's basically the opinion I had for the next 10 to 15 years. I studied literature, so I was always studying about God and philosophy and all those things, but it was no more real than the Greek myths and Roman myths. That was about on par with what it was. And, at one point we were just calling ourselves recovering Catholics, because that's what we were doing. Because, that's how I was baptized, which meant nothing to me. So cool. So fast forward, I get married, and 4 years into the marriage, everything goes south. So, and this is where the start of my crashing and burning of my life. Through a lot of different factors, I ended up being unfaithful to my first husband. And he was ignoring me and not caring what I was doing, but I was also disrespecting him and doing what I wanted to do. So long and short of it, I had an affair, and that it took another 4 years for that to really break up the marriage, but it didn't get any better. So, and I bring this up because if not for that pivotal point, I would not have destroyed my life in order to be built back up, right? So there we go. So my first marriage is ending, completely destroyed. And somebody once asked me, if you had faith in God at that point, would things have been different? I'm like, honestly, I couldn't answer that because there was no God. There was no God for me. God just wasn't part of my life. So that is an impossible question. So anyway, we snowball. I moved to Texas, ill-advisedly, I'm mad. And I ended up in a mentally and emotionally abusive relationship. And in that relationship, I completely hit rock bottom with my self-esteem, with my behavior. I kept doing the really horrible behavior. And I felt trapped down there. And I eventually, somehow, and still not got involved, reached out to my parents and humbled myself to them and said, I cannot do this on my own. I want to move back, and I've put myself into so much debt. I can't. I am trapped here. And they hated me living down there anyway, so they flew down, bam, one way, rented a truck, drove me back. Saved me from that situation, but it didn't save anything else. I came back here doing the exact same bad behavior, going complete into my hedonistic everything. It was 10 dates a week with 10 different guys, and I use the word date very loosely, right? So then all of a sudden, I started talking to this one person, and we started talking about beer, and then we started talking about football, and then he's like, hey, do you want to hang out? And I'm like, okay, sure. And I remember it was a Tuesday because it was the same day I got my dog. And so I'm like, yeah, we could hang out, but I just got a dog, so come on over, we'll walk the dog and all that stuff. He didn't leave. It's my husband now. So, because he didn't leave. Something about that, 3 days later, he moved in. About a month later, we were engaged. A month after that, we were married. Why I say that? Because something changed. Like the first or second day we had really met, he was like, hey, do you want to do this thing? Like just a relationship thing? And literally, I had like 7 or 8 dates scheduled. And I heard a train screeching to a halt in my ears. God intervention number 1. Didn't know it at the time, but God intervention, right? I heard the train screeching to a halt, and I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And it was because he laid out all his baggage on the table. I laid out all my baggage on the table. And we're like, you got baggage, I got baggage, what ups? It's all good. So, and this relationship has been so pivotal to my coming to faith because one of the first conversations we had, he's like, so you're a Christian, right? I'm like, excuse me, what now? I am the furthest thing from that. He's like, oh, but weren't you on christianmingle.com? I was nowhere near christianmingle.com. I was on a free booty call dating app. But something crossed the databases, so beware, and we were compatible like 85%, whatever. It was just that one little thing. So that put a weirdness to us. But I'm like, well, the only thing that we don't have in common is religion, so I'll cure him of that, right? So but then he starts talking to me about this church that he really likes to go to, and I'm like, that's awful. But then because I like you so much, I'll go, but I'm not going to like it. And I didn't like it. I hated it. And it's the church we all know and love, right? But I went there and I hated every minute of it. I wouldn't look anybody in the eye. I wouldn't drink the water because, cult. And I wouldn't touch anyone. I mean, this is just where my headspace was at this time, right? And I would go in there doing this. And Megan Mazzola, who comes here all the time, she was a sign language interpreter. I watched her because she was interesting. I didn't pay attention to what was happening, but I watched her. So all these little things. And then we went for a few weeks, and he really enjoyed that I was going. But at some point, I'm like, I can't. This is too weird. I don't like it. It's not doing anything for me. So the next thing he did was he stopped going. Not everybody would do that. It's super important to him to go, but he stopped going to nurture our relationship. And so for weeks and weeks and weeks and maybe months, we didn't go. But then little by little, I could see that he was missing it. So I'm like, fine, if you really want to go, I'll go with you. That's fine. And we started going. And then little things started happening. Like I was directing a play, a community theater play. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And everything that could have gone right kind of went right. But the weekend of the show, it was downpouring. This was an outdoor production. It was an absolute cats and dogs, ridiculous downpour, right? And for the hour before the show till the hour after the show, both Friday and Saturday, no rain. The rest of the weekend poured. Because on Thursday night before that Friday show, I looked up at the ceiling and I said, God, if you want me to follow this journey in any way, shape, or form, you best not make it rain. I gave God an ultimatum. God made it not rain. I was like, shit. And now I have to live it to my end of the bargain. So we started going. I started paying attention. And then this thing called Alpha comes up. And my husband saw it on the screen, and he's like, oh, we should do that. I'm like, nah, I'm good. But then some friends of ours were doing it. I'm like, oh, it would be better in numbers. And so I agreed to do it. And I get into Alpha, and my first experience there was this crazy person. Now I love her to death, but crazy person was like, Victoria, because we had name tags, right? She's like, absolutely. She's like, Victoria, and I'm like, and back off. You need to back off. You're too much. But long story short of that, Alpha is where I was able to ask questions, and I was able to confront things. I was able to say things the way I needed to say them to work through my own thoughts about what I thought following Christ was and what I had previously experienced what it was. And then by the end of that 9-week, 10-week session, we had a weekend away. We weren't even going to go, but somebody at the last minute gave us money to go because it was very pricey at the time. And on that weekend, there was one part that had you like welcome in the Holy Spirit. It wanted you to do it. And first time they brought it up, I was like, absolutely not. And I was crying in a corner, shaking, because I'm like, not going to happen. And then I'd had time over the night to think about it. And the next day they asked again. And I couldn't talk. I looked at my husband because we've been talking about it. And I looked at my husband and I nodded, and he was able to ask for them to pray for me with the Holy Spirit. I couldn't ask. I was just sobbing. And they did, big circle. And I've never had such a visceral experience more than that, but it was as if there was like a block of ice or a rock just being broken down and falling away. And I was changed at that moment. So that's when I know I actually came to faith. I'm still working out the what and the why about it, and that's never going to change. And it is one of the reasons I'm here at A New Way, because one of my conditions about going to our other church was if they ever come out against any kind of person, I'm out of here. And that happened. And now I'm pursuing my faith in the way that I need to and that I want to and that I believe it should be pursued for myself. And this is my new chapter of that piece of faith. But that time in Alpha, that was like that moment. And I mean, it's been ups and downs and ins and outs. And then I became a leader in Alpha. I got baptized to a standing ovation. I didn't quite see it, but I had to have my testimony read out to the crowd, and I needed it that way. I wasn't going to do a cattle call baptism. I mean, some people do that. I cannot. But yeah, it's been a long journey and it's still going. And that's what I kind of love about the journey to faith, is that there is no end. There's no, I've gotten there. And if you think you've gotten there, you haven't gotten there, you know? And I relate this back to my martial art, where black belt is ground zero. Once you've achieved black belt, you're just starting, even though you've now passed through 5 ranks underneath it. Black belt is where you start. And so really, for me, when I came to faith, that was my ground zero, and that was where I'm starting. And now it's a continued journey to figure it out from there. So I know we'll have time to talk about it later, but that's the gist of my story. So thank you guys for listening. And then we're going to work getting Alton up to snuff. Is he good to go? All right. Then I will sit.
Am I there? Is that me? Wow, I look good. Did you guys know I look this good? All right. I'm good, right? I'm hopefully. So my name's Alton, for whoever may not know me. I can't see everyone because I am remote. I have a little bit of the pink eye, but I could not resist being here tonight, sharing my story and being a part of this series. So here we go. So I'm going to start back to when, not when I was a bitty child, but back in childhood, growing up. I grew up in a religious family. I went to a Methodist church that my family belonged to, and most of my family went to, and that was my experience. We went to church every Sunday. Something that was something that happened. It wasn't something that was questioned. It wasn't something you really had a choice in. It just happened. Went to church on Sunday. So I did that. For me, and in my thoughts about it, the typical, black church, a small church, kind of run down. The people there had been going there forever. The family's generation. I also have the 3 F's. I call it, family, fashion, and facade. Because, like I said, all families that were usually families that attended there for generations and generations. As far as the fashion, in the black churches, the fashion is really it. You always wear your Sunday's best. There's the hats, there's the suits, there's all of this. And it seemed like that was just something that happened. That was the church experience. And then aside, where I feel like that comes in is there's always that feeling of you put on your best face when you go in, no matter what. Church is the place where you go in and everybody comes in and it's just kind of like this. Nothing's wrong on the outside, right? Nothing going wrong with anybody on the outside. Everything's fine with this, even though you may have just gone through a tragedy. You go in with your smile, you go in with your pretty clothes, and you go in with your family and you smile and you act right and you sit there, and this was it. That was the church experience, right? The music was something that caught my attention. That was something that I always connected with church. Was the music. That was something that always caught my attention and made me feel like I should be there and that I wasn't part of that. But you do all that. The church service is very fun. So you go through You go through this whole intro and you do all this music and you do all these Bible readings and you do all this and you've been there probably 45 minutes to an hour and then the sermon starts back. Right? So then you have to sit for another 45 plus minutes of listening to the sermon and listening to about it stand up to tell you that's time that you're not even talking. You're bored out of your job. You're sense of until the music starts from that point.
I don't know that.
Still more church, right? You know that. So still got to need probably 30 minutes before you get out if you're lucky. And that was just kind of that experience. Because something you could do good. You still do something. To me, if I were to do some faithfulness in that experience, I would say faithfulness, being quiet,
Click out of the full view for a second.
pretending. I'm putting on
Do you have control of that? No. Okay.
looking your best.
Yeah. I texted him so he knows.
Are you talking to me? No.
Your audio has gotten very muffled, Alton.
Okay. I didn't change anything. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, yes, much better when you're closer.
Okay. Well, I didn't zoom on in. Look at my pores. So anyway, not a very, very good, not the greatest experience for me, not the most soul-provoking experience going with, my family church. So fast forward a little bit and also crossing over, I went to Catholic school. So going to Catholic school, I went pretty much my entire life, all the way through graduating high school. And going to Catholic school was a different experience, right? I was not Catholic. So going there meant, for me, I was obviously different because I was coming from a different religion. Most of the people that I was in school with were white, so I was different in that way. So very, very many differences for me going through that. As I was going through the Catholic Church, I basically have to assimilate myself into their practices, into their faith, into what they do, because you not only pay them a lot of money to go there, but you also get to, follow the way that they want to teach you. So on top of going to church on Sunday with my family, I was in church once to 2 times extra, at least. Holy Week was a lot more, but going to church even more. So this was my life, right? Going to church on Sunday and not understanding that. Spending my time during the week with my friends in school and watching them get to do things, because the Catholic faith was also like many of us know this feeling, right? Of being able to, of them pulling you in and making you feel warm, but then saying, oh, but you can't do this, you can't do that. So it was, yes, you can pay your money to go here. Yes, you can go to the masses that we're going to make you go to, but you can only participate in so many things. You can't participate in this. You can't participate in that. You can't participate in this because you're not Catholic. So here I am feeling, very disconnected from the religion that I was growing up with, and now feeling disconnected, but maybe even also kind of envious because of the majority of the people around me being able to experience these things. So I converted to Catholicism. That was something that I decided to do. I wanted to get confirmed with my 8th grade class. I was tired of feeling left out, and that's kind of what I did. So I went through that process and did that, converted. So now technically I was Catholic going into high school. So now technically there shouldn't be any differences, right? But there are. I learned that as I grew as a person, and that as I grew in who I wanted to become, and stood against what the Catholic faith was teaching at that time. It was more like a blend of oil and water, and we weren't not mixing very well. They were teaching things that I didn't agree with, and I was coming into my own voice and saying things. And so I was even told by a teacher that if I didn't believe in every aspect of the Catholic religion, that I was not Catholic. So I stood up and I said, well, I guess I'm not Catholic. And this was my senior year theology teacher. So now there's that conflict, right? It's not really vibing completely with my childhood church. Now I'm getting into this space where, like, I thought because it was what I was experiencing, that the Catholic faith, that's what was something that was going to give me something to grab onto and grab hold to and connect to. And really, what it ultimately did was let me down and make me feel shunned. Oops, sorry, I almost tilted my camera over there. It made me feel shunned. It made me feel like an outcast. That if I didn't believe in all of this, that I couldn't be a part of this still. So here I am, still feeling like I'm out there, right, in the middle of this faith limbo, right? So if I was to sum this up, what I would say from that experience, faith, for me, it would have been, read this here, changing who you are so that you could be more palatable to others. That faith was knowing that there are boundaries that you can't cross. That faith is a set of standards that you have to strive to achieve in order to do it properly. And that faith was something that others are going to judge you by. So from what I was hoping to get from faith and what I was getting from faith, it was two very, very, very different things. So fast forward a little bit, I take some time away from church. I live my life. I meet my husband, we get married, blah, blah, blah. And faith was always still there, but it just never was a vibrant part of my life at that point. Until we decided that we were going to seek it out together. So we started to seek churches out, find churches, and tested out some churches. And eventually landed on one that many of you probably know. And that was a place that, for me, honestly, was the first time that I experienced faith the way I thought I wanted to experience faith. It was mind-blowing. It was mind-boggling. It was mind-opening. And it led to many changes in my life and in my personality and who I was and who I wanted to become. And honestly, still, actually, all three of these stories, kind of phases in my life, all play a part in who I am today. And will continue to play a part in who I'll continue to become, because they're the foundations of what I learned. But that being said, that was the first time that I was experiencing faith in a way that was actually life-changing for me. So things went down with that as well. I were that feeling of, oh, you're accepted, but you're only accepted up to this far. Pretty much everything I compared those other two stories to of my childhood religion and then the Catholic religion. This one kind of gave me all those bad vibes all wrapped into one, in the end of it. Because there was obviously a not so good split with that church. But what I can say now is that I know I heard Victoria say at the end there that faith is a journey, and that's something that doesn't end, and something that continues to go on and on and on. And what I also learned was that what I was looking for faith, I was searching for that in people, and it doesn't exist in people. That the faith, that kind of a faith doesn't exist in others. It's something that you've got to kind of find within yourself, and it's a personal relationship. What I was experiencing actually outside, I would say, was religion, and it's something that I had to really think about. Religion and faith are two totally different things. So what I was experiencing throughout all of those three stories really was religion. Um, and religion will let you down. But faith is something that will survive all of that. Faith is something that um, is a part of you. It's something that you discover. It's something that you nurture. It's something that you grow. It's something that um, you flourish. And it's something that nobody can take away from you. That's something that no matter what's happening, whether it's bad, whether it's good, whatever it is, you can still have that faith. And that is something that I've learned through a new way, through developing a new way and co-founding that. And the community that we've gotten is that there's bad things that have happened. I've had bad experiences with church and with religion, which were supposed to be the things that were supposed to teach me to be a good person, teach me to be well, teach me to do well, make me feel good, make me feel loved, make me feel wanted. But they did the opposite. And I could have very, very easily said, screw it all. This is a bunch of crock. I don't want anything to do with this, and just live my life the way I wanted to live it, you know? But I still always had that faith. And I can say that to maybe those churches or to those experiences, screw them, that I don't want anything to do with them, but my faith will still stand. My faith will still stand because I have a belief that we were put here to do good things, that I have a belief that there is something bigger out there than me. There is something that is watching over me. There is something that is protecting me. There is something that is guiding me. There's something that is giving me purpose. There's something that is that has a plan for me to make differences in the world. And it's something that I could try to ignore it, but it won't let me ignore it. And that's how I know that I have that true faith that lives within me, because even when I ignore it or put it aside or put it under a bushel for a little while, that faith always still it's always there lingering, and it always comes back. So excuse me. Those are the things that I've learned through my journey. And I know that through being a part of A New Way and the things that this opportunities are gonna bring to me, that I know my faith is going to continue to grow, that it's going to continue to change, that it's going to continue to flourish. I know that there's still a journey. I know that where I am now is going to be different than where I'm going to be tomorrow and where I'm going to be next year and in 5 years. But that's beautiful, because where I am now is different than where I was 5, 10, 15 years ago. And I'm very grateful for that. And the only reason that happened was because somewhere along the line, I did find a faith and I knew what it should look like. And I held on to that idea. And because I held on to that idea, I didn't let anything else around me change that. So, yeah, that's what I've got for you.
Thanks, Alton.
Thank you, Alton.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're not on. Just speak loudly.
So we're gonna shut down the live, and we're gonna have some discussion here. So,
Yeah.
But thank you, Alton, for being able to chime in. And
He's staying for this.
Yeah, and you can stay with us. We're on the stream, so.
All right, I'm not going to touch anything.